Okay, so welcome everybody. Thank you for joining me this afternoon and this lovely afternoon. My name is Amy Rosenfeld. I am a registered dietitian at Northern Westchester Hospital, which is part of Northwell Health, located in Westchester, New York. It's nice to see you all here this afternoon. And today we're going to talk about mindful eating. Before we get started, just wanted to tell you a little bit about the program that this seminar is a part of, and that's our Center for Healthy Living. Our Center for Healthy Living is at the moment a virtual place for health and wellness events. I'm sure you saw all the events on our Eventbrite page, ranging from topics from nutrition to mental health to kids programs, everything. So it's a really great and free resource for the community right now to learn about health and wellness, whatever your goals may be. For those of you who are local and in the area, our Center for Healthy Living is also our physical location for laboratory and COVID testing. So it's a great place to know about, located in Chappaqua, New York, next to Whole Foods Market, so very conveniently located. So we'll get started talking about our topic at hand. If you have any questions during the presentation, feel free to put them in the chat or in the Q&A. Either one, I'll be checking them periodically. We are going to do a couple of things that are interactive during this presentation because I think that's always more fun. So we will have a couple of polls that I will have that you'll see pop up on your screen. If you don't know how to do polls or don't know how to respond or don't wish to participate, that's totally fine. But I welcome you to when you see them popped on your screen. I also will let you know that this presentation will have an interactive demonstration of mindful eating, and during that presentation I invite you to actually eat a piece of food. So if you want to have a fruit or vegetable at hand, I advise it to be a fruit or vegetable because it tends to be a more natural experience if you're doing it with a natural food. So it could be anything you want. It could be an apple, it could be an orange, it could be sliced carrots, whatever you prefer, but we are going to do a demonstration. I'm going to walk you through how to do what we're talking about. All right, so go. Let's start with a really basic question. Before we can get into what mindful eating is and what exactly we're talking about and why it's a beneficial thing, we have to talk about food in general. So food in general, why do we eat? Right? I'm going to start with your first poll. See it pop up on your screen. Why do you eat? Do you eat because you're hungry? Do you eat because you're bored? Do you eat because you're feeling sad? Because you feel stressed? Because it's something social to do, whether you're at a party or something that people around you are doing, or just because it was there? All right, let me see. We're still getting poll results in. A lot of mixed reviews, right? And we all eat for lots of reasons at different times of the day or for different, when different circumstances arise. We eat for lots of different reasons in our lives. So it looks like the majority of you eat because you're hungry and because it was there, just because you happened to pass by it. But another good portion of you eat out of boredom. And I think a lot of us during this period of our lives with COVID and some periods of quarantine, that definitely was a big part of it. And a lot of you put here that it's because of emotions, right? Feeling sad, feeling stressed. That's definitely a big portion of it. And this, okay. The important thing to understand about eating is that there are three reasons that we as human beings eat. We eat for physical reasons, we eat for psychological reasons, and we eat for environmental reasons. So what does that mean? Physical reasons, we need to eat to physically keep us alive. We need the nutrients, the calories, the vitamins, the minerals from food, and our body cues us with hunger cues to ensure our survival so that we're eating for physical means to help us concentrate, to help us have energy to go about our day, for children to help us grow, to help us to keep from getting sick, from nutrition, and for overall bodily purposes. But we also eat for psychological reasons. And that's important to acknowledge and to understand within yourself, that we eat because sometimes it makes us feel good. We eat because it's the social normative thing to do and we want to feel like a part of a group. Sometimes we eat out of comfort, especially we learn that as young children. If a baby is sad, or a lot of times we'll try to give them a bottle or nurse them to provide them with that comfort. And it's deeply ingrained, and for a lot of us more so than others. If we were taught, of course, that if you had a bad day, treat yourself with a bowl of ice cream, that's an ingrained thing. Or if you finish everything on your plate, you can have some dessert afterwards. That's something we learn. It's a psychological cue. And then there's the environmental cue. Because some of you are saying that it's a little choppy and frozen, and I apologize for that if that's the case. Everything looks good technologically on my end. If it's more of an issue, please let me know. Anyway, so environmentally, we eat because of a lot of different cues. So whether we see a bowl of food on the table or a commercial prompts us to get excited about a certain item, or we're in the grocery store and the marketing looks really appealing. There are a lot of reasons in our environments that are prompting us to eat, and also in our environment that are designed to do that. Marketing is a very strong thing. It's intentionally made so that it makes us want to eat. And of course, social engagement, such as a holiday or a celebration or something of that nature, because that's the environment that we're in, we're more prompted to eat more, even if we aren't actually physically in need of food. So acknowledging those 3 eating cues as to why we eat is really important, so that we can really help to acknowledge when we're putting something in our mouth and why. So then it leads into the why we're eating, but then the how. It's just as important, the what you're choosing to put in your mouth, the why you're choosing put in your mouth, and how you're putting it in your mouth. And here goes our second poll, right? What are your typical eating behaviors? Let's see. Okay. Oops. Sorry about that. Nope. Hold on. I'm sorry, everyone. Let me see if I can get the next poll. There we go. Okay. Lunch poll. What eating behaviors are common for you? Are you a multitasker? Do you tend to eat while you're working, eating on the go, eating while watching TV or some other type of media, eating while reading, eating at a table by yourself, or family meals, eating with your family or another person? All right, so let's see how this poll is going. In this poll, I'm seeing a lot of you eating while watching TV or media. And that's very common, very, very common. Let's see. That's the vast majority of you. Give you a few more minutes to vote, but it's typically, and especially in American lifestyle, very rarely do we eat at a table, either by ourselves or with other people. Unfortunately, it's not as feasible given a lot of people's schedules. It's not something that we make time or prioritize to do. And especially if we're eating by ourselves, we feel the need to be engaged in some other activity, whether it's TV or some other type of media. We feel that pressure, that silence and solitude, or just eating isn't enough. And that tends to typically be very popular in America and in other cultures. I'll show you the results here. Overwhelmingly, eating while being distracted. That's what we would call distracted eating, okay? So eating at a table, and we're going to talk a lot about why that's important when it comes to the practice of mindful eating. excuse me, and how that's incorporated in is a major part of, is rarely something that's seen, and it's a major part of a healthy eating lifestyle. Okay, so then what is mindful eating? I keep talking about it, okay? Mindful eating is similar to mindfulness, which you may be familiar with and maybe a practice you've heard of. It's being in the here and now and really focusing on the present. Well, mindful eating is eating in the moments with full presence and awareness and limited distractions. What does that mean? It means that when you're eating, you know what you're doing. You know what your body's feeling. You know how your food tastes, how you're experiencing it. You know that is all you're paying attention to. And it's using all of your senses to experience that food, whether it be your taste, your smell, your sight, your sound, everything, the way things feel, everything is fully focused on the food, and you're really able to experiencing it in a full way. Another part of it is also connecting what you're eating to how and what it's doing for your body. The intention of food and the purpose of food as human beings is to give us nourishment. That is what food is for. While many of us use it, and occasionally all of us use it for comfort measures or because it's something to do, the intention and the purpose of food is to nourish our body and give us the nutrition that it needs to function. So mindful eating, a big part of that practice is when you're eating and when the meal is done, is really understanding that the food that you just put into your body is nourishing your body. It's replenishing your cells. It's giving you the energy you need to focus and concentrate and go about your day. It's preparing your body to fight off infection. It's helping your body fight off infection. It's doing all these things that we need our body to do and acknowledging that. Another big part of mindful eating is acknowledging responses to food without judgment, especially for women, but I won't just limit it to women, but so much of what we put into our mouth comes with a set of baggage, whether it be I shouldn't have eaten that, or I didn't deserve that, or I didn't eat enough of this to have this, or why don't I like this? I only like this, or I shouldn't be eating this. This is bad for me. And acknowledging that our responses to food, like salmon is a really healthy food, but many of us don't like it, and that's okay. Or I'm not a big vegetable eater. I never eat salads. I don't like salads. I only really liked cooked food, and that's okay. And your response to food, whether you love chocolate or hate chocolate, or like salmon or hate salad, all of that is perfectly fine, and there's no judgment associated with your experience, your likes, your dislikes, or lack of feeling about food. And then, of course, the biggest piece of mindful eating, and is probably the most tangible one that we're going to practice today and that can put into play really easily, is being aware of when you're hungry and when you're full. Many of us eat far past our when we're full and don't let our bodies have that feeling of just satisfied or satiation, that we go way past that and we feel really, really stuffed and we ate so fast that we didn't even know what happened. And mindful eating teaches us to avoid that, to avoid getting that overly full feeling, or that feeling of deprivation where you're still hungry, but you don't really want to give yourself anything else because you don't think you should. Mindful eating helps to overcome all of those obstacles, which as a dietitian, I think is one of the best things you can do for your health. And we're going to talk a lot more about this, explain it in detail. All right. So emotional eating is kind of, in my opinion, a lot of the opposite of mindful eating and more typical of what a lot of people experience. So when you're more of an emotional eater, the questions that you ask yourself, the why am I eating, when, what, how much, and your body's reaction to it are as follows. When you're an emotional eater, you're saying, why am I eating? I'm eating because I'm bored, because it's a social thing to do, it's there, I was deprived before and now I'm allowing myself to do it, or I had this really intense craving. When are you eating? All of the time, or whenever you feel like it. What am I eating? Typically more of the unhealthy choices, more of the sweet and salty chip one-worded food kind of answers, more of the less nourishing options, what I like to call sometimes foods. I never use the words good and bad. Mindful eaters take those words completely out of your vocabulary. So I never use those words. How? Until it's gone, versus responding to how your body feels, and often quickly and secretly. And your body and your mind are always thinking about food, thinking about what you're craving, thinking about what you're going to eat, thinking about how you're going to eat it, how you felt about it, what you should have eaten. And all of this is a pretty unhealthy, what I like to call an unhealthy relationship with food, which means that your body and your mind are so focused on the food or what you shouldn't have or the rules that you become less able to enjoy it, which ultimately, as a dietitian, I counsel all patients that food should be an enjoyable thing, that we should have a healthy relationship with food. And mindful eating really helps us to do all of that. Okay, so what are the benefits of mindful eating? The benefits of mindful eating is that you really learn to connect with your body. You learn what your body is telling you, when something doesn't feel right, when you're full, when you're still hungry, when it needs something, and even so much as what it needs. Does it need more water? Does it need more fiber? Does it need more protein? Do you need more vegetables? Are you running low on energy? Really helping to connect with the signals that your body is teaching you and learn to put those into practice. Respect and love food as nourishing, meaning that it is something that we all need and it does something for us. It's a symbiotic relationship. We enjoy eating it and it does something that really, really helps us to perform our best and to not abuse it, to not binge it or completely deprive ourselves from anything that we enjoy, but everything in moderation, and to say that I respect what food is doing for me. And along those same lines, to experience all food choices without guilt, that it's perfectly fine to say, I really love ice cream and I'm gonna have some today. And there's nothing wrong with that, that there's no such thing as a good food or a bad food. Or I really haven't eaten any vegetables today. And that's okay, because tomorrow I can eat more, right? So experiencing anything that you choose to eat without feeling like you need to run an extra mile or that you should feel bad about it, because there's always tomorrow and every food has its place for sometimes. And overall, I think the biggest benefit is when you eat this way, you really feel empowered to make healthy choices. That when you respect food for what it's doing for you, that you understand that everything in moderation is okay, that you can make a choice to have the best food choices all day long, and then the next day you wind up eating burgers and fries and an ice cream sundae for dessert. It's perfectly fine. And you feel empowered to make those healthy choices more often because you know how your body is going to feel from a result and what it's giving you. And that's really what we all want, is to feel our best and feel great about it. From a health perspective, mindful eating really, really helps us to prevent overeating, because if we're understanding how our body is feeling, that that we know when to stop, that we know our body is full, it really can help us from eating too much. And ultimately, what that helps us to do is, of course, help to maintain a healthy weight or to lose weight if that's your goal, without dieting. I hate the D word, I never use it. And really, mindful eating is a gateway into avoiding diets. This is not a diet, it's a lifestyle change. It's a way of viewing food and appreciating food in a completely new way that allows you to eat what you want in moderation and eat the healthiest foods most often, because you know you're doing something good for yourself and you know that it feels best and your body feels best when you do. Ultimately, if you're eating healthier choices, eating smaller portions, maintaining a healthy weight or losing weight, it's reducing your risk of chronic disease. We know that when you eat too much or have and put too much weight on your body, it can result in an increased risk of cancers, an increased risk of heart disease, diabetes, and a whole host of other chronic diseases. So when you eat this way and you practice mindful eating, you're ultimately helping to reduce your risk of chronic and serious diseases. It also really helps to improve digestion. If any of you struggle with reflux or IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, or inflammatory bowel syndrome, and you've tried everything and nothing's working, eating this way and like really being attuned in how your body is feeling from certain foods or how much you're eating or the way you're eating it, eating in a more relaxed environment really, really helps to improve your digestion, which ultimately helps us all go to the bathroom in a better way, more regularly, and that helps us all to feel better in the long term. Okay, so when you practice mindful eating, these are the principles that you're acknowledging. You are acknowledging that there's no right or wrong way to eat. And usually when I say that to patients, they look at me like I'm crazy. There is no right or wrong way to eat. There are no rules. We accept that every eating experience is unique, whether that be your breakfast today or your breakfast tomorrow, your coworker's lunch or your lunch, the time you eat that spinach salad today or the time you eat the spinach salad in 2 weeks from now. Every eating experience is unique, and that's okay. You are aware that food can help support your health and well-being, and that is the ultimate purpose of food. And in some ways, most importantly, you are in control of your eating behaviors and no one else. It is completely your choice. What's the result of this? A healthy relationship with food. So if you remember, I showed what an emotional eater's relationship with food is. This is what I would like to call a healthy relationship with food. Why am I eating? Because I'm hungry. When am I eating? When I'm hungry. What am I eating? Whatever I want, in moderation, right? Knowing that if I make a choice to make an unhealthy option, sometimes that's okay. And I'm empowered to make the healthiest choices more often because I know it makes my body feel the best. So I can eat whatever I want and there are no rules. How? Intentionally, with purpose, not because it's there or because you feel you should or because you passed by it or the commercial told you to. You eat with intention. You know you're doing it. How much? Until I'm full, until my body says stop. And I go through life enjoying things instead of thinking about food. And that's really what mindful eating helps us to do. All right, so are you ready with your fruit or vegetable? I hope you all are. It's really important. We're going to try this. We're going to try this exercise. All right. So when we're trying this exercise, help give you all a second to get your fruit or vegetable. Okay. I want you to set yourself up in a comfortable place, whether it's at your kitchen table or at your desk that you feel that you're at right now, if you're at work, or at the table, a table surface that's closest to you. And I want you to remove distractions. So if you have a cell phone that you're not using right now to watch this webinar, move the cell phone, turn off your Apple Watch, try to go in a quiet place and just remove distractions that could bother you. And let's start by taking 5 deep cleansing breaths. So a cleansing breath is in through your nose and out through your mouth, pushing the air all the way out and counting to 5 when you do it. So breathe in to the count of 5, out to the count of 5. And do that 5 times. When you breathe in and out to the count of 5, each breath, try to focus on your 5 senses, understanding that your attention should be on what you're doing, how the breath is feeling going into your lungs and filling your chest cavity all the way up. And when you push the air out, pushing it all the way out. Okay, so breathing into the count of 5. And out. And starting each meal this way with like some deep breaths to relax, because food should be a relaxing experience. If you ever travel abroad to other countries, say to France or to Italy, all their meals are relaxed. And when you eat, no matter where you are, that's how I want you to feel, relax. And taking a few deep breaths before you do start eating is really important in the practice of mindful eating. Okay, so now that we've done our deep breaths, I want you to ask yourself, how do you feel? Hungry? On a scale of 1 to 5, how hungry do you feel? How does your stomach feel? Is it empty, full, or kind of neutral? All right, now pick up your fruit or vegetable. If you notice, we haven't eaten anything yet, and we're not going to eat anything yet. We're going to focus on all of these experiences. Take your fruit or vegetable in front of you and start to look at it. What do you see? What visual observations do you make? Do you notice any weird colorations on the skin? Do you notice any imperfections, any bumps, bruises? Is it a symmetrical shape? Is it a funny shape? Does it look different than normal? Does it look like the most perfect piece of fruit or vegetable you've ever seen? Now really I want you to use your fingers to feel your food. How does it feel? Does it feel smooth? Does it feel bumpy? Does it feel rough, slimy, slippery? Take account of anything you're noticing, any extra bumps, faults, smooths, rough textures, anything you can possibly feel. Now I want you to smell your food. What aroma is released? Is it a strong smell? Is it citrusy? Is it sour? Is it salty? Is it sweet? Does it have a strong smell or not really? What does it smell like? Does it smell like anything? Does it smell familiar? Does it make you think of something when you smell it that reminds you of your childhood or a memory? Now I want you to listen to your food. And this one sounds weird, but especially if it's like a piece of fruit or something like that, I want you to move it around and shake it. What does it sound like? Does it make a sound? Does it make a noise? Does it not make a noise at all? Do you hear anything? All right, so now if it's a fruit or vegetable that needs some preparation, I want you to cut into it or peel it. When you cut into it or peel it, does anything change? Does it smell differently? Does it feel differently? Does it look differently? Does it sound differently? What did it sound like when you peeled it or when you cut it? So now finally, after we've done all of that, now we're going to taste your food. So I want you to not chew though. Take a piece of your food into your mouth and just put it on your tongue. And don't chew. Try to take note of your body's reaction to the food as it enters your mouth. Do you notice saliva generating? Does the taste linger in your mouth? Does the taste disappear over time? What's happening inside your mouth? How does it feel? Now take a chew, bite, and chew 20 to 30 times before swallowing. Notice what flavors are released into your mouth and how your body reacts. Is the first chew different than the last chew? Is 20 to 30 bites too many or too little? Does it seem ridiculous? Does it seem like, wow, I've never really tasted a piece of apple that's been chewed this many times. I didn't realize it could taste like this, or what my body does to it. Does it feel differently on the first bite than on the 30th bite? Now, after you finish those 20 to 30 chews or bites, swallow. Feel the food traveling down your body and imagining it going from in your mouth to the back of your throat down your esophagus and landing into your belly. Try to imagine what benefits or nutrients that food has brought to your body. Has it given you fiber to help lower your cholesterol and control your blood sugar and help you go to the bathroom? Has it given you vitamin C to help fight infection? Has it given you necessary protein to help build back your muscle from a workout you did or a walk you did earlier? Appreciate what that bite has done. And as you take each bite of your fruit or vegetable, notice if your mindset or your experience changes. And maybe each time you take that bite, there's something new that you notice. Did you not notice how quickly our body starts to salivate? Did you not notice how quickly or how much you really did need those 20 bites? So you never really noticed how much better it goes down, how much more you're able to digest it. And start to recount when you're done eating your piece of fruit or vegetable on your eating experience and your appreciation for that fruit or vegetable. What did you notice? What was different about this experience than maybe you've ever had before? So reflecting on this, how is eating this piece of fruit or vegetable different than how you usually eat? Have you ever eaten this way? Have you ever thought to eat this way? How did it make you feel when you were eating a fruit or vegetable? At first, it might feel a little silly and a little foreign, and that's okay. That's to be expected, right? But think about how if you ate this way all the time, if you ate this way when you were eating a bowl of pasta, or if you ate this way when you're eating your salad at lunchtime, or even your cup of coffee in the morning, how might eating this way make you feel? How might it be different than the way you're eating now? And how might it change your eating habits going forward? And how might it make you be more mindful? And ultimately, as an individual, as somebody who, everyone's unique and everyone has their unique situation that they may or may not have going on in their life, what's physically feasible for them. What are your barriers to eating this way? And how can you overcome them? Is it time? Is it physical space to do it in this situation? Is it responsibilities or other people in your life or other people who might not be supportive of this style of eating? What are strategies you can do to overcome them? And put a plan into motion. My suggestion always is to start by writing down what motivates you. Why did you want to attend this seminar? Why, when you wanted to attend this seminar, why was mindful eating something of interest to you? And why do you want to practice it? What about it interests you? What about it sounds feasible and appealing? And start writing it down. Journaling is a great way to get all these thoughts onto your head and start getting organized. And make a list of the barriers that might be affecting your eating behaviors. Like I was saying before, time, emotions, cultural beliefs, responsibilities. Make a list of them. And as you're going through those lists, start to see what a tangible strategy is to overcome that. If it's time, perhaps it's literally carving out sections in your work schedule so that you have 20 minutes to eat lunch in this way. If it's time in the sense that you are constantly rushing to and from dealing with your children, think about how you can make this happen as a family, carving out that time to do, maybe not every day at first, but periodically, and start to notice a difference. Once you have that list, and as you're thinking about that list, eliminate the terms good and bad from your vocabulary. Just eliminate it. Plan, very easy plan, part of the plan to put into motion, regardless of barriers or your motivation. Just take those words off the table. Find healthy outlets to manage your stress, because food is not a source of comfort. It shouldn't be. It shouldn't be what we do when we feel sad or what we do when we feel stressed. We need to have a bucket of things that we can go to when we're feeling that way. Because if every time we felt sad or every time we felt stressed, and right now I know it's a lot of the time, I feel it too. If every time we did that, we used food as the comfort, we're setting ourselves up for a very unhealthy way of eating and a very unhealthy potential for lifestyle diseases and chronic diseases. So finding a healthier life outlet for those emotions. For me, it's being physical. I love being outside and going for walks and going hikes and exercising. When I'm feeling sad or stressed out, that's my outlet. For other people, it's different. It's music, it's art, it's being around others, it's listening to music, whatever it is, but have that in your toolbox ready to go so that you don't result back to the emotional side of eating. Set small goals for yourself, times of day that would be easiest to practice mindful eating. Perhaps it's in the middle of the day when your kids are at school, or it's at night when everything has settled for the day and you're able to have a quieter dinner meal. Whatever it is, even if it's afternoon snack or tea, set small goals at the time of day that would be easiest to start this practice. And set a goal for yourself. You're going to try it once a week, then 3 times a week, then 5 times a week, and start there. Eat meals and snacks to avoid getting too hungry. When we are too hungry, eating mindfully is very, very challenging. So making sure we're eating on regular intervals, like every 3 to 5 hours, so that our body is hungry, satiated, versus starving and full. Okay, those are the 2 extremes we really want to avoid. And when you're feeding yourself, start with really small portions, because if what's in front of you is small, it's a lot easier to eat mindfully than looking at a huge plate of food in front of you and how you're going to get that all in your mouth. So start with a small portion and really chew and focus the way that we practice today. And if you're still hungry after that experience, serve yourself a little more. It takes about 20 minutes for your stomach to communicate with your brain, which is a long time. So you might not realize you're full if you're eating too quickly. So start with some small portions and practice the way we did. And then if you're still hungry, have a little more. And start with a journal to reflect on your experience. See how things are going. See what's working. See what's not working. See if this is possible to do at the end of the day. And you've mastered it. Let's try it at the beginning of the day too. And journaling is another form of stress relief. So getting that information out of your head and onto a piece of paper can really help you to be successful. And give yourself a break. Okay? Change is hard. Doing this is hard, especially if you are an ingrained emotional eater. Mindful eating is very challenging. So give yourself some grace that it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take time. It's a lifestyle change. It's not a diet. It's a lifestyle change. So give yourself a little bit of grace. And with that, I'll take some questions. I see some questions coming in. Other questions? And we'll start with the first one I have here. Mindful eating and a busy life. How do you make this happen? Okay, so it's not easy. It's definitely not easy. I myself, I'm a mother of two little kids. I work full time. I get it. It's really hard. How do you make this happen? It happens as often as I can. I do the best that I can, meaning that I try to engage my family in family meals as much and as often as we can, especially, Friday, Saturday, Sunday nights, where we can really practice this as a family. I really make sure that in my schedule, in my calendar at work, that I always take a lunch break. I carve out, even if it's 15 to 20 minutes, I always make sure that I carve that time out for myself, because I know it's important for my health, my digestion, my weight, my goals, everything. So I prioritize it, just like I would prioritize brushing my teeth in the morning or making sure my sons have everything they need for school, right? I prioritize it, and setting that priority definitely helps to make it simple or possible in a busy life. But also I acknowledge that I don't do this all the time. It wouldn't be realistic to say that I do this all the time, not even dietitians, and being perfect isn't a real thing. It's not achievable. I do the best that I can. Sometimes I have to have a working lunch. Sometimes I have to eat breakfast in my car. Sometimes I have to eat dinner while being distracted because I have to multitask, and that's okay. But most of the time, I try and fit it in. And even if that means scheduling a calendar invite to make myself do it, I set and prioritize myself to make that happen. And that's kind of the mindset that you have to get into, is that you have to prioritize yourself a little bit, which for a lot of us is hard, especially if we're caregivers or we have important work or a lot going on in our lives. But you have to prioritize yourself a little bit to make this happen, just like with any other health and wellness goal. Okay, other questions? Okay. Is it necessary to eat this way all the time? Just as I mentioned, no, it is not necessary to eat this way all the time, just like it's not necessary to eat healthily all of the time. It's not necessary to strive for perfection. There's no such thing. What are substitutes for sugar cravings? So I get this question a lot. First of all, I always recommend that if you are somebody with a sweet tooth, that you don't deprive yourself, meaning you don't say, I am 100% staying away from sugar, because it just leads to these intense cravings, and that's what you want to avoid. Mindful eating teaches us that we want to avoid the good and the bad food concept, because if we don't do that, it leads to these cravings and potentially binges. So what I do recommend is having some type of healthy sweet treat every single day to kind of subside some of these sugar cravings. So what do I mean by that? I think if you're a chocolate person, I think that a dark piece of chocolate, like 1 or 2 ounces of dark chocolate, like 70% dark chocolate, is a really great way to curb a sweet tooth. There's something about the dark chocolate that helps to satisfy you in a sugary kind of way that doesn't have you reaching for more and more and more, say it's like milk chocolate or candy would. So having something sweet, whether it's fruit or dark chocolate, something that helps to indulge your sugar cravings because you don't want to completely avoid them. But the other piece of that puzzle is also sugar cravings are tightly linked to carbohydrates in general. So when you don't have any carbohydrates in your diet throughout the day, so you try to go carb free, no grains, no fruit, no bread, that leads to sugar cravings, because your body needs carbohydrates. It needs glucose. It needs that to function. Our brains and our muscles solely depend on carbohydrate to function. So a lot of times sugar cravings and a low carb or no carb diet like keto or something like that are very tightly connected. So mindful eating teaches us, again, there's no good foods and bad foods. We need carbohydrates. So eating a balanced diet, like having half a cup of brown rice or a sweet potato or some oatmeal in the morning or something in throughout our diet, shows us that we can reduce sugar cravings by giving the body what we need, which ultimately what a sugar craving is your body asking for carbohydrates. If none of that works, I would say it definitely having things like advising patients to have like frozen blueberries, frozen grapes, things that take a long time that are low in calories and a healthy form of sugar can really be helpful, because it takes your body a long time to eat it and you feel like you're eating more than you normally would. So I definitely recommend things like that, frozen grapes, frozen blueberries, things that you can eat in larger volumes that are sweet. But ultimately, I recommend the first part of what I said, having a balanced diet to reduce sugar cravings and not depriving yourself by having healthy sweets every single day in small portions. other questions? Let's see. How can you engage kids to eat mindfully? It's a really good question. A lot of engaging kids to eat mindfully is, depending on the age of your child, it's definitely involved with talking about how their body feels. If your child is young, talking about and asking, how is your belly feeling? Does your belly feel full? Does your belly feel like it needs more food? Does it feel empty? Does it hurt because it's empty? And helping them to understand, because they're not, just like adults, if you've never practiced this before, they're not able to make those connections very easily. So making sure that your child is asked those questions, that you're having those conversations about it, talking to your child about how what food does for us, the nourishing side of food. I always recommend avoiding the negative side of things, like talking about how bad something is for you, or you know, that junk food, bad treats, none of that type of language, but more talking about how wonderful, beneficial fruits and vegetables are, how they give us superpowers from their super nutrients, and that's why it's so important to eat it. It makes our bodies feel good, it gives you the energy to play sports. For older children, I definitely recommend, encouraging them to serve themselves and to have regular snacks, and to be a little more planful in when they're eating, to avoid getting overly hungry, which is what can cause them to eat super fast, and not enjoy and taste their food. To try, just like for yourself, to try to schedule time in for family meals so you can have these conversations, but also to have the ability for them to slow down and eat, especially in America. We don't give kids nearly enough time at lunch to really even taste it, but really trying to get them to slow down when they can at snack time and dinner time and breakfast time, so that they can practice these principles whenever they can and avoid getting overly hungry. What types of snacks do I recommend? So a snack is an opportunity for good nutrition. When you have a snack, you definitely want to ensure that you're giving your body some type of fruit or vegetable. I always recommend incorporating some type of fruit or vegetable into your snack, and then having some type of high fiber, high protein options incorporated in. A snack ideally should be around 150 calories. So you could think of as a snack something that's like a 100-calorie cup of hummus with some sliced vegetables, an apple with a tablespoon of peanut butter, an ounce of cheese with some whole grain crackers, things that incorporate a healthy fruit or vegetable, a healthy whole grain and or protein. Definitely. When we think of snacks, when you just eat pretzels or you just eat chips, your body is not going to feel satisfied from that, and you'll probably be hungry an hour later. And there's also not a lot of nutrients in that. Your body is asking you for food because it's asking you for nutrition and nutrients. So when you're thinking of a snack, think about having that 150 calorie mark, but incorporating in a fruit or vegetable and a healthy protein and a fiber choice. Yeah, no problem. Any other questions that I can answer for today? All right, well, thank you very much for joining us. I really appreciate it. I hope this was helpful. Oh, one more, okay. Are food addictions real, meaning you can't stop eating some things? So I would say that for everybody has a trigger, okay? There's definitely food addicts. There is definitely a category for that people can be addicted to food, and that's a whole other conversation. But I would say in general, there are for certain people triggers like that you can't stop eating. Everybody has one. And for things that are that for you, that would be the only time I would say maybe those are the foods you don't have in the house, or you have as a general rule you don't have. Like, for example, if you're the person that cannot stop eating a bag of chips, don't have chips around all the time, right? If you're the person that's really triggered by cookies, don't have cookies around all the time. But as a general rule, you don't have to say, I'm never going to eat a chip again, that's off limits, or I'm never going to eat a cookie, but just don't have them around. But yes, there is, food addiction is a real thing, and that's an addiction specialist that would be able to help you with that. But there are certain triggers for everybody. Everybody has them. Any other questions? All right, well, thank you for joining me today. I hope this was helpful. There are a lot of different seminars we have posted on the Center for Healthy Living's page. This program it has been recorded also and will be posted on our YouTube page, so you can look out for that. I also invite all of you to fill out the survey that when this program ends, it's really helpful for us to know your feedback. Fill out the survey at the end to give us that feedback. And I hope to see you back in the Zoom room another time. Thank you very much and have a wonderful afternoon.